Hi, my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News. Today we have Professor Robert Steinbuch joining us. He is a professor of law at the UALR Bowen School of Law, but today he is, of course, representing his own views and beliefs. Hi, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you again, Jenny.
You recently, about a month or two ago, pointed out something that the Arkansas Economic Development Commission did. There was some money going back and forth between them and the state chamber. Most recently, you pointed out a substantial bonus that the executive director just recently received from an outside entity. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I have it right here in front of me. Which, as you know, I've shared it with you. Maybe you'll post it as well. I made a FOIA request after I read a newspaper article that said the governor approved a $50,000 bonus to Mike Preston, who's the executive director of a state agency called the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. And at least according to this form, he's also the Secretary of Commerce for the whole state. And what I have before me, as I said, you have it and we'll post it.
We will post it.
It's a letter from the Arkansas Economic Development Foundation. Now remember, the Arkansas Economic Development Commission is a state entity. The foundation, totally private entity. Who's on the board of this totally private, secret entity? And when I say secret, I mean, where's the money coming from? They're not telling you. That's what's secret. The entity itself is well known. The sources of its funding are secret. They have on their board, a Tyson's senior employee, a Walmart senior employee, and a regional chamber of commerce senior employee. And remember, what is the Chamber of Commerce? But the mouthpiece for Tyson's and Walmart, the paid lobbyists for Tyson's and Walmart. So you have chamber, Walmart, Tyson's, and they set up a foundation. Okay, what does this foundation do? It funnels money with the approval of the governor and the legislature to the Secretary of Commerce / Director of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. Wait, what? So think about this. Could you imagine if the governor's mansion had stamped in big neon lights along the side of it, sponsored by Tyson's, sponsored by Walmart, because this guy's sponsored by Tyson's, sponsored by Walmart, and sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. And as we discussed previously, the state agency, Arkansas Economic Development Commission, funnels hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have the checks to the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce. So the money comes in to pay the head of this state agency, who turns around and sends your tax dollars back out to the Chamber of Commerce. Now that is not, if that's not a cycle of corruption and cronyism, I don't know what is. This guy's a dog with two leashes. One leash, the public. But the problem with the public is you and I don't have time to spend to pay attention to the particulars of what Mike Preston is doing. Well, to be fair, I've spent a little time doing it and you've covered it. So you and I have done so, but most people don't have the time to pay attention to it. But who does have the time to pay attention to that? Chamber of Commerce, Walmart, Tyson's, because they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from this guy after they pay him. This document specifically says this guy gets 4 payments of over $7,500 a year. So what's that total? That's 30 grand a year. Payments from this private entity that is essentially a front for the Chamber of Commerce, right? In addition, he got a $50,000 bonus from the same entity. So he gets $80,000 plus from an entity that is basically a gilded version of the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce and the people the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce represents, Tyson's and Walmart.
He must
and this guy is supposed to be working for you.
Right. I was going to say he must have done a pretty good job for the state chamber and those entities to get such a nice little bonus there, especially coming out of the primaries. It seems interesting timing.
It's enormous money. And here's the interesting thing. I remember when I was working in the federal government, and I spoke to a guy who worked his way up through the government and was about to retire. And he was an accountant and by trade. And I said, oh, why did you? And he started with the government right out of college, some 40 years before that. And I said, why'd you go to the government? Because he had told me he could have gone into private practice and made far more money. And he said, Rob, I went into government because I thought it's the right thing to do and I wanted to help the people of the United States. And that was a great answer. And it helped motivate me to do the things that I generally do. I've worked almost entirely in government service. If you include, which I do, my teaching is government service because I work for a state school. I worked a few years in private practice. And right now I do a whole bunch of pro bono work on top of it to help out citizens of Arkansas.
Yeah.
So it's well known that if you go and work in the government, you typically make less money than you do in the private sector, but you have an added benefit. What's that added benefit? You know you're doing good. You know you're doing good. And that's a value. So if this guy wants to do good and work for the Arkansas Economic Development Commission and be the Secretary of Commerce, could you imagine, by the way, if some of these big companies that make bombs and jets were sponsoring the U.S. Secretary of Defense, sponsored by whatever the name of those companies that make jets and bombs are, Grumman. The Secretary of Defense got a $100,000 payment from Grumman Aerospace. Could you imagine that? Nobody would tolerate it. But we're a small state and nobody's paying attention, I gather. And I've got a bunch of good friends in the legislature and I've already told them, this is wrong. I just discovered this. This is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this.
Well, and what was the response?
Well, they seemed receptive to my comments, but they didn't make any commitments, needless to say.
Okay, so then, in your opinion, what tangible steps or actions, especially considering that, this is tied to taxpayers, this is tied to small businesses here in Arkansas, if they don't want to become an arm of, this organization that does, work for the radical left and these woke corporations, what steps can they take, in your opinion?
Jenny, why do we have an Arkansas Economic Development Commission? Oh, the cronies from the Chamber of Commerce and the corporate welfare types at big companies will tell you, oh, it's so important because we need them to bring in big business. And how do they bring in big business? They give them tax breaks. Like they gave to Carvana, and Carvana turned out to be a big flop. That money's gone. It's gone. Some crackpot once said to me, well, they clawed it back. How do you claw back a tax relief? How do you claw back non-payment of money? You have your hand in their overall bank account. It's such make-believe, people don't even understand the words they're using. So that money is gone.
So are you saying that we just need to completely get rid of the Arkansas Economic Development Foundation?
Well, here's the thing. The Chamber of Commerce has been lobbying for the very goals of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission all along. Because the Chamber of Commerce, their only purpose is to give tax breaks and money to big business. So there's somebody out there doing it, but they're doing it in private and they're doing it for the companies that are paying them boatloads of money. Let them continue to do that. And you know what? They can come to the legislature and lobby just like you and me. There's no agency of Rob Steinbuch, let's give him a bunch of free money commission. I'd love to have the Rob Steinbuch, let's give him free money commission. And all they have to do is say, well, if we want to keep Rob Steinbuch, if we want to make Rob Steinbuch happy, we give him a tax break. That don't exist. That doesn't exist. So if these cronies want a bunch of tax breaks for their big businesses, and the people that are supposed to be making that decision, the legislators, not some unaccountable bureaucracy that's getting paid with private money from the very organization that want the discounts and the tax breaks. If the legislature wants to give these tax breaks, they can do it. They can do it every time. So that's how it's supposed to happen. Why does big business have a special organization built in the government giving tax breaks, but you and I don't? Does Conduit have it? There's no Conduit Association of Economic Development Commission or some nonsense like that with a private foundation funding them as well as the government taxpayer dollars. This is cronyism and corruption. That's what this is.
Do you see this changing anytime soon, especially considering that not a lot, some of our legislators and some that are recently reelected in the primary, they work closely with State Chamber, Tyson, Walmart. So I mean, do you even see this even changing, Robert?
Well, that's a great question. No, I don't think that certainly those elected officials who are in the pocket of the state chamber or Walmart or Tyson's have any incentive to do anything different, because in addition to all that money going back and forth between this private foundation, the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, and the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce, there's another leg. It's not a triangle, it's a square. There's another leg. All those big dollar payments made out to elected officials for their campaigns.
Right. So that was what I was thinking, because it's very cyclical in a way.
Yeah, exactly. It's a vicious cycle of cronyism and corruption. That's what it is. So
Yeah,
we need
well,
good conservatives to say enough is enough. We're going to put a stop to it. By the way, and I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. I like Walmart. I shop at Walmart. It's not the only place I shop at, but I don't like how Walmart throws its elbows around. I don't like how Tyson's throws its elbows around. I testified in the state legislature when Alan Clark, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, asked the head of the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce, you guys want to mandate vaccines. Are you willing to pay for long-term care for those individuals that suffer long-term harm from those vaccines? And his response is, oh, I can't commit to that. I can commit to putting you into shackles and mandating that you take a shot, but I won't commit to paying for the damages. That's what I don't like about some of these big businesses.
And we know many Arkansans agree with you on that. Okay, before I let you go, I want to get your opinion. Governor Hutchinson recently said, yes, he will call a special session. I believe it's August 8th is when they will come back to the Capitol. He did say that teacher pay raises will not be on the call, but he is considering abortion rules and school safety to be included. What are your thoughts on that? And then what do you think? How do you think the legislature should consider or handle the surplus?
Well, I think everybody's talking about some form of tax relief, and I think that's appropriate. I do agree that we can have some tax relief relative to income tax. I would also, frankly, like to see some sales tax relief. I would also like to see an elimination of the car ownership tax. Why do I pay taxes because I own a car? That Bill Clinton put that tax into place, and these conservatives can't get rid of it. And you know why? Because they're hooked up to the drug that's money from taxes, and they need to pull out that needle and stop taking that drug. So we got to get rid of that tax and the used car sales tax. Luckily, with the help of me and you and Conduit and so many wonderful citizens of Arkansas, John Payton is now going to be the state senator from that region, of course, instead of the essentially non-conservative candidate who ran against him. So we're going to have some improvement there. And John Payton is one of the leaders in removing the used car sales tax. But remember, I named 3 others. Get rid of the car ownership tax, reduce sales tax, and reduce income taxes. All of those should be taking place. Regarding safety in schools, we have a very simple solution. We need to allow the teachers who have an enhanced concealed carry license to carry their firearms in K through 12. That's not the law today. It's the law for universities. It's the law for the state capitol. It's the law for City Hall, even though City Hall in Little Rock is denying it, and that's why we're suing them. It's the law for any government building, even though the Game and Fish Commission thinks they're exempt. That's why we're suing them too, by the way. So why is it not the case that someone with an enhanced concealed carry license cannot carry in K through 12? We need to change that law. We need to change that law immediately. If that law were in place in Texas, in Uvalde, and one of those teachers had decided to be armed, because it's not mandatory, nobody's saying it's mandatory, then, and one of those teachers had a gun, lives would have been saved. Lives would have been saved. So let's stop dancing on the head of a pin and let's get down to what really matters. We need to have teachers and staff who can defend the lives of our children.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Great insight. Thank you so much for joining Conduit. Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Look forward to being on with you again.
All right. Talk soon. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.